Hello, good morning, friends of the Sunday podcast. Hope you've all had an amazing week. And we are, of course, coming to you on a Sunday. Today on our podcast, we have Darlene joining us. Darlene is a friend of Shannon's, a friend of Shannon's dad. Darlene was married for 49 years, so that's almost 5 decades. So today we're going to talk about what it really takes to build lifelong love. And we're even going to touch on the heartbreak of loss. So welcome, Darlene, to the Sunday podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this new situation for me. I've never done this before, so bear with me, okay?
Don't you worry. We'll guide you along.
Thank you.
Scoopalicious, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, thanks, Darlene. So Darlene is the coolest person I know, first and foremost. She's super funny, and I'm so glad that she's here with us. So in just the short time that everybody has got to spend with Darlene, I think we can all agree that she's just an awesome woman. So thank you, Darlene, for being here.
That's right. When we were all together, a few weeks ago, we met Miss Darlene when we were celebrating birthdays, and she was cracking us up. She was being a little bit naughty, talking to us about her amazing husband, and we said, Darlene, we got to have you on the podcast.
I appreciate it. I hope when I say something, I don't embarrass anybody, but it will be the truth from the time I practically was born till now, which I'm 86 years old.
God bless you.
Well,
that's what we try to do here, keeping it real.
We keep it real here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Been through a lot of ups and downs. Growing up, did not have a lot of material things that most children do today, but I lived in a 3-room house with 2 sisters and a brother, and of course mother and dad, and didn't have a bathroom in my house until I was 16 years old. Had to take a bath in a tub in the kitchen. And I'm not going to go through all those bad years. I just want to tell you all out there that what the children and you all have today, God bless yous, because I didn't have it. Where I live now, this is like a palace compared to what I lived with. And no fault of my dad, he did the best he could working and making money with 4 children. But we were close, and out of the 4 children, 2 of us are left, and 2 of them have passed on. Plus my mother and dad, of course. My mother came of a family from 18 children, so that ought to tell you a lot about the story.
18.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Did you spend your whole life in Colorado, or did you move about?
No, I lived in Pueblo, Colorado all my life.
Okay. Well, tell us about your marriage.
I'm sorry, Scuba. At what age did you meet your husband? And I know his name is Kenneth. So what age did you meet him?
We knew each other as young children because my best friend in growing up, and they were first cousins, Kenneth and her name was Betty. And we used to, as young children, go roller skating. So I knew Kenneth was 5, 6, 7 years old. And of course, as he got older, he quit roller skating. But then on my 16th birthday and Betty's 16th birthday, both parents had a party, and of course he came to the party. And when I saw him, I could not believe how good looking he was. Well, he was a nice looking little man. When I was 12 and he was 13, I told his cousin Betty, that I was going to marry him when I got older. And I did. Of course, I chased him, but I did tell her that. And then when we were 16, we met again at another birthday party, and he asked me out then. He was 17, I was 16, and we dated for about 8 months. And in the meantime, he decided to start dating others, and he dated another girl from the high school that they were both going to. And they got married, and she was pregnant, but she lost the baby. And after she lost the baby, she decided she didn't want to be married anymore. So we didn't see each other for about 5, 7 years. Went to the state fairgrounds here in Pueblo, and we met up again. I was 25, he was 26, and he asked if he called me if I would go out with him. I said, well, call and then we'll go from there. Went home, told my mother that Kenneth Koski was going to call me for a date, and she told me, well, he hurt you once, he'll hurt you again. And I just told her, well, I thought I was old enough to make up my own mind. But he did call, and then we started dating, and then we got married. And of course, wonderful years. We have 2 sons, Brett and Scott, and had the ups and downs in marriage. Nothing is 100% perfect. But I married because I didn't want to be the big boss. I married because I wanted the man to be the man. And I did my chores and my duty, and he did his. He was the supporter because getting pregnant, I quit working. I did go back after, once the boys started driving and all that. But I did not want to be the boss of it all. We did buy a house, had wonderful years. We bought a camper, went camping. Boys loved to fish. Kenneth did too. I did too. We argued, don't get me wrong. As in those days, the woman usually gave in and says, let's just go on and forget our argument. I loved him from day one, and I miss him 100% today. My advice to women today, just look ahead. Don't look behind. Look ahead. And if you really and truly love somebody, not just for physical being, play your part and let the man play theirs.
So, Miss Darlene, when you said that, you played your role and he played his role, was that like a conversation that you two had when you were starting your marriage? Like, did you sit down and say, me as the wife, I want to be home, I want to be with the children, you as the man will be the provider? Or was that just like understood at that point in our societal development?
Well, I think an understanding, because I'm going to be honest, with my mother, with the aunts I had, I followed their rule. None of them divorced. None of them remarried. They stuck out the good times and the bad times, and I followed them. They told me a way to a marriage and to keep your man interested. This is where the makeup comes in. Don't find your man when he leaves for work to come home and find you in your curls, your hair not combed, no shower. Put your makeup on every single day. And that's stuck in my head. And I bet if my husband was here today, other than being sick, he could probably tell you on both hands how many times he ever found me without makeup on my hair in rollers and not still in my house coat at 5 o'clock when he came home from work. That's just the way I took it, and that's the way I followed it. I wanted somebody to take care of me. Not 100%. I went back to work. I helped financially. But I'm just saying, if you really want it to work, man is man and woman is woman. And from
Amen.
Way back in the biblical years, that's the way it was. And it's still that way today, or should be that way today. I think that's why there's so many divorces. I know that today material things are important. See, and it wasn't to me, because I didn't have it to begin with. One thing is, I know the women want to work, or they go out to work. And then when they get home, they feel that they're providing the money-wise and whatever. Maybe sometimes, I don't know if it's degrading to the women, if they feel that they're giving in and that it shouldn't be that way. Just look back the years and years when you didn't hear about the divorces there are today. I did what I thought was right, and that's maybe my marriage worked as long as it did. I'm not perfect. I think I am, but I'm not perfect in a long time. Well, if Kenneth was here, he'd say, oh, that's a bunch of bull she's saying right now. But no, he was boss. Now, maybe if I had a daughter, it'd be different, but I don't want to say you all are boss. Please don't take that wrong. But you're asking me how mine lasted. I'm telling you the truth. But that's those days. That's not the way it is today.
Darlene, how would you say are the key ingredients for a lasting and successful marriage? Are you saying it's, relinquishing, kind of letting the man be the head of the household? How would you kind of define a successful marriage?
I think conversation, religion comes into it too. My husband was an altar boy, being in the Catholic religion. He was an altar boy. And then you've got to look back at their family life.
Yes.
If they have a family life and their parents have been married for 50 years, that tells me with Kenneth, especially, now I'm talking about my day, that they had a good marriage and that he was raised that way. A divorce in those days was a no-no. That's just up here in my mind and in my heart. It might be you girls are asking an 86-year-old girl, a woman, thank you. You're not that age yet, so you think you've got time. But let me tell you, when the part of life that you lose, you will look back and you will say, my goodness, is it my fault that I didn't stick with husband 1 or 2? Or look back when you meet somebody, look and see what their home life is like, what their mother and father. How many times have they been married? I don't know your whole circumstance. If you lived with a man that was abusive, you better believe it. Get out of it. You don't need to take that from anybody, not even from another woman. Not even from a sister or a brother or your mother or your father. But if it's a continuation thing, verbally or abusive physically, get out of it. You are so wonderful, 5 women here, including me. But I think I told Shannon just the other day, if they're cheating, my mother, once a cheater, always a cheater. And you're not, if they're doing it 2 or 3 times, one time, okay, that's a slip. But when it continues, and as beautiful as all you women are, and as close as you are to people, you have no problem finding the right person. None of you. Shannon, you know I mean you.
If I remember correctly, Darlene, you said if I was as beautiful as me, you'd wrap it up and sell it.
I would. I don't understand any one of you. Even me in the right corner right now. I know I'm 86, and I would not get married again. But I wouldn't mind having, and I better be careful what I say. No, at my age, honey, I would just like somebody to go out and eat and dinner. Oh, I would cook for him here.
Companionship.
But I do have 3 wishes, and Shannon knows what they are, but I'm not going to say it on this broadcast.
Okay.
So before I die, I would like the biggest bag of popcorn I could eat, the biggest bag of popcorn, peanuts I could eat, and I would like to. And you keep that
Not
here.
the neighbor.
Now you girls go to confession now in church. Go to confession and confess what you just heard. I don't know all of your back histories, a little bit on Shannon's. It's hard to know you girls that personal. I don't want to say that I'm 100% right in all my life. I dated a lot of guys, but I'll be very honest. Once I saw Kenneth at 12 years old and then told his cousin and dated him at 16, I knew it. Right back here. It was always Kenneth. And I knew it. I think you know when you know.
Mm-hmm. And Lena is coming up on quite a few years with her husband, as is Aaron. And Paula's been with her husband for quite a few years as well. And so they also have quite a bit of wisdom to add to this conversation as well. So you guys should chime in as well.
Well, I'll definitely add something that I didn't even know I had given this advice, but my niece reminded me when she got engaged recently. Apparently a while ago I said, marry the nerd. Marry the nerd. Marry the one that makes you laugh and the one that is a little bit nerdy, because I just feel like that's the man that's always going to keep you on a pedestal and treat you like the woman that you are. I think there's so much beauty and truth and femininity. And I love what you said, Miss Darlene, about the roles that man and woman have, because I do think that those roles in this day and age are neglected and hidden and, like you said, maybe looked down upon. But we should be proud of being woman. We should be proud of being the caretaker, the nurturer. Yeah, so that's my biggest piece of advice is if you're single, go for the nerd, man. They're the ones that think of you all the time. You are number one in their eyes, and they're going to make the money too.
And Carolina, how long have you been married?
We're going on 22 years in February.
Bless you.
4 kids, just like you, Miss Darlene.
Bless you.
Thank you.
This might sound, I go back to God. I just feel if God wanted, I don't know how to put this, why, if God didn't want man to be boss. Now, I don't mean he has to be 100% boss. That's not what I'm saying. You have to be 50-50 to, especially these days. But I just feel that he had a role for a woman and a role for a man. If he wanted men, to, let's say, to have babies, then he would have done it that way. But that's
In the
not.
beginning, yeah.
He made man to be the provider and the woman the housewife. So, don't take my advice 100%. 75 would be great, but not 100. I'm not totally right. I'm just going on how mine worked because I was ready to get married, and I was brought up, you don't marry 3 times or 5 times. If you haven't found somebody by the second one, then don't ever give up. And another thing is if you meet somebody through another friend, that kind of help. And church does too. Now, Kenneth was an altar boy, but he was not the best church person. Our finances, we worked out together. He provided he had 2 businesses going to provide. We were not the richest couple in Pueblo, but we never starved. And he's brought up his kids, the 2 boys. They work, they have children. So I just... I don't want to give false advice that, Darlene says to do this and do that. You have to do what you think is right for you. I'm just telling you what I did right for me. And
So, Darlene,
if you ever love somebody and then you lose them like I have in a terrible way, then you do stop and think backwards. What did I do wrong that the devil came in and took him? Because his death was a tragic, something that I would have never guessed to happen. He was gone 24 hours after the accident. And that, I can't get over how.
Miss Darlene, earlier you mentioned something about having disagreements and that sometimes you would kind of swallow your piece of the argument. When you think about that now, what do you think about that? Would you still approach conflict that way, or do you think there's a different way of approaching problems? Because I don't know that sits good with me, to maybe just swallow my point of view. So what do you have to say about that?
Ding. Shh.
I think just sitting and arguing back and forth doesn't really solve anything because you both think you're right. Half the time I walked away. And then we get back later and say, well, let's start over or whatever. There to me is where, you're not going to change. If you want the marriage to work, if you're really in love and you don't want to divorce and you've got small children, you have to swallow your pride as a woman. I'm sorry, you're not going to agree with me because today it's not just a man's world and a woman's world. I'm talking about my day. It doesn't do any good to just stand there and argue back and forth because you each have a different opinion. Walk away and talk about it later, because maybe you'll stop and think about what he says, or maybe he'll stop and think about what you've said, and maybe more calmly you can discuss it. But to stand there and keep arguing back and forth is not going to work. That's just my opinion. It's really getting bad as time goes on. Go to a marriage counselor or go to your priest or your minister. They have helped people I know a lot. I just think standing there and just screaming back and forth just doesn't solve a thing. Not a thing. And I did most of the walking away because, I just never wanted a divorce. I would be the one to bend, because there we go back took me all those years to get Kenneth. And I thought, I love this man. Why would I want to put him through the second thing that he just got out of? And then he had such a wonderful home life. He was so close to his sister, close to his mother and dad, his brother. His
Was
and
that ever a conversation that came up in your relationship, Miss Darlene? Separation or
no,
divorce? Was
we
that
never
you
did.
never
No,
even didn't
no,
even entertain it?
never said never. But see now, as far as I know, because I asked, like he was in business with another gentleman, I asked if his wife, do you know if like your husband ever cheated on you? Her name was Myrna. She says no. And she had a lot of friends, so did I. And I says, do you think Kenneth would? She says, absolutely not. And I know, I've got a note in my heart and my mind that he never cheated on me. See, that would do it for me. Because if I know that, I'm going to be blunt, if I knew for sure that penis was going in somebody else's, and then somebody else's, and then somebody else's, then I don't feel mine satisfied him at all, my vagina.
You mentioned pride, Miss Darlene, and I think pride has destroyed a lot of
I'm sorry.
relationships. Pride, and I think that pride has destroyed a lot of relationships. Sometimes we ask for things that we need in our marriage, and instead of just saying, my partner really needs this, we think it's controlling, and our pride gets in the way. And I agree with you on the cheating part too. I think there's so many avenues now that weren't around in your marriage. Like there's social media, and there's this secrecy in social media. Like put that stuff aside. And there seems to be a lot of temptation, and we talk about lustful eyes, and we talk about this, what the Bible talks about, and I'm still learning, but we talk about the temptations that are out there. And this is what I think is really destroying some of marriages. And I know that Erin and I have had these conversations, and she's like, you can have social media and not do certain things, and you can be appropriate. But I feel like there are a lot more temptation out there that wasn't in your time. But generally, people are the same. We can still be the same. We can still be committed and not reacting to people and not engaging in inappropriate conversation. You still go to work. People are still going to work. And also you had mentioned women working and stuff. And cost of living, as you know, is a lot higher nowadays. And that really puts a toll on families. Now, both parents, both family, husband and wife have to work. And gosh, it would have been great to be able to stay home. I wish that we could have homeschooled our kids, like Erin take history and Lena take Spanish and I take geography.
Had our own co-op.
Yeah. And Paula take English, and we just went to each other's house and we just homeschooled our kids, but we just weren't able to do that because we had to work. And what a blessing that you got to stay home with your boys and raise them, and that Kenneth was able to support your family. I just think that was the foundation of successful marriages, that you guys could stay home with your family and raise your boys and be there when your husband came home from work. And things have just changed drastically. I kind of wish I was back in that time, I just wonder how things would have been different.
The material things are important today. In other words, what I'm saying is if the children go to school, if all the kids don't have the same shoes, then the one that's still wearing a different kind, then they're picked on. The kids suffer both at school and that, like you just said, this computer stuff and social media and all that, it has not helped society at all. Not at all. If your partner and you agree we're going to be the same in this household, you and I and the kids, I don't care what the Smiths are doing or the Joneses are doing, we're going to live the way we want to live. We argued. I'm not saying we never did. But when it starts and I'm not saying the man should have 100% right, but to just stand there and scream at each other, that doesn't work. Just walk away and say, we'll continue this later, and wait an hour and then calmly sit down and see if you can discuss what's the problem. I don't want to give, it's hard for me because I'm from a different era, period, to give you.
Well, that's how we learn.
Well, that's
I'm
it.
curious though, Miss Darlene, can you tell us about your wedding?
Let's see. Got married on November the 5th, 1966. It was Catholic because we were both Catholic. I had one maid of honor and two bridesmaids, and of course, the best men were, a man to stand up with each one. It was at St. Joseph's Catholic School, church rather, in a little town east of here. We had a reception at a hall, but Kenneth only had that Saturday off and Sunday. We did never have a honeymoon when we first got married. But who needed it? All we needed was a room and a bed. We only got to go to Springs because, like I said, he only had that and then Sunday off. And on Monday, he had a report to work. But I had a week off. So we rented a little apartment downtown here in Pueblo. And I'll never forget, I said, for our first meal at home, what am I going to cook? And I cooked a roast. He was amazed at that roast. He says, I didn't realize. I says, this is only the beginning. I says something to him about Italian food because I'm full-blooded Italian. I says, well, the next one will be our spaghetti dinner. And he just thought that was great. We lived by what a marriage was supposed to be. We had arguments, but when it came to buying a house, he says, I think we'll like this. And I loved it. Like I said, from what I lived in to what our first home wasn't too far from where I live now. But then we looked at this when he was still alive, but he did not want to move. And I says, Kenneth, we're both getting older. You can't cut the lawn. I says, let's buy that one. Teasingly, he says, if you want to move, you go ahead. I says, I can't pay for it by myself. I says, I'm going to need your money. He says, oh, no. If you want to move, you're going to have to move and pay for it. Teasingly, of course. So when he passed away, he told the boys, you know what a wife and a mother we all four, us three had. You make sure she gets that place. You know where the money's at. They made sure that they were around here to help me get, well, not money-wise, but get this place. And then they helped me arrange for the move and all of that. And they're still helping me today. And that's another thing. If you have good children that you're not supporting them, that helps too. My boys worked from the time, both of them, 16 years old. Kenneth wanted to charge them room and board because he did it when he was going. See, it's the background. Kenneth was 16. He had to go to work because his dad worked at the CF&I here in Pueblo, which is a steel mill. He fell and hurt his back and his leg. And in those days, there was no workman's comp and that type of thing. And his mother ended up going to work here to help their finances. And my husband went to work and made $7 a week to help his mother buy meat to put on the table. That's the background I'm talking about. My boys both went to work when they were 16. But if they had a car and needed gas, they paid for their gas in their car. I didn't. And now my son, Brett, he's got 2 boys. He's not paying for their gas in the car. They're paying for their own gas. They're putting money away for college, the second one, but they both work. I have one grandson's going to graduate this year, but he works over here at Walmart, and he's a personal shopper. He's making darn good money, like $18 an hour. To a kid, that's great. I went to work to help my dad. We didn't have it. See, we didn't, there's why it's hard for me, because I didn't have growing up, the good things. So it's different. I mean, to me, to advise you on that type of stuff, because I don't know what your finances are, but I don't know what your children are, or if they're working, how old they are, and so forth. I'm not saying don't help them, because nowadays, everything is high. To us in those days, everything was high too, because we didn't make the kind of money. So it's hard money-wise, financial-wise, to tell you what to do as that part goes. But communication is number one. I'm going to leave it at that. Communication is number one. Talking. The last thing my aunties and my mother all said together was, don't ever go to bed mad at each other. Don't ever go to bed mad at each other. Make some kind of agreement, whether you kiss them and say, I'm going to bed and we'll discuss this later, but don't ever storm away and go to bed mad, and because you got to face it in the morning. Those olden days, they had some good advice, I thought. But remember, last and final message, what goes around comes around. So what you do today, what goes around comes around. Be the best you can be, the way you were raised by your parents. If you feel they did the best job they knew how to do, then follow suit with your kids and your husbands and your friends. Don't try to outdo each other in your, well, I may make more money than you do. That's what happened to a friend I have. They divorced because the wife told her husband, "Well, I make more money than you do." That is bad news. He's trying the best he could. So what? She had a degree. Naturally, she made more money. But that's not what you tell your husband. And never, like I said, never go to bed mad. I don't care if you think you're right or he does wrong. At least kiss him and say goodnight, and we'll discuss it in the morning. Thank you all for
I
listening.
love
Is
that.
there any other question?
Yes, Miss Darlene, I have a question for you. You mentioned the importance of makeup. And what would you advise? Like person like me doesn't like makeup. I only do it once in a while if I have some, special occasion. So why would you say makeup is important?
Well, because you're looking in the mirror and you don't like it. But I look at it as other people looking at me, what they think of me. Whether I like it or not, I don't say that the makeup is going to make me prettier, but I know I'm no beauty. And when I look in the mirror, even 50 years back, sure, I was cute, but I was no beauty. And I followed my aunt's and my mother's advice. Put on makeup, and in those days, of course, their husbands didn't stray as much as they do today. But maybe that's why a woman outside of the marriage today, they do wear makeup, and that makes them look better to a man if they're meeting for the first time, or the man's married and he thinks, gee, maybe my wife could look like something like that when I get home at night, instead of what she looks like she just got up in the morning and she looks like she's still sleeping. So that's why I do it. Whether I liked it or not, I still do it. But if you don't like it, try slowly. Try making up your eyes a little sparkly or dreamy, or a little a lipstick on your lips. That might make him feel they're kissable. I don't know.
You know,
And if you don't like, honey, don't take I don't want you to call Shannon back and say, boy, Darlene told me to put on makeup and it didn't do a damn thing. Just start off lightly, but you don't do it because I said it. But it worked for me, and it worked for
Thank
my
you.
aunties. I had
A
7
little lip
aunties
gloss
on my
goes a long
mother's side.
way. I said a little lip gloss does go a long way.
Well, it does. It really and truly does.
did you guys watch Mrs. Maisel and how? Did you guys watch Mrs. Maisel and she would get up and she would put makeup on real quick in the morning, then she'd jump right back in bed? Did you guys watch that? It was a great episode.
I
love
just
that.
don't think anybody, and don't take this badly, I don't care how beautiful one is, you're not. I think the most beautiful probably woman to me in the world was Virgin Mary. Now she probably didn't have any makeup on, and now the movie stars, they put on too much, and mainly because they need it. But when I look at you, I don't feel that you need a lot of it.
Minu is very beautiful. I don't think she needs any makeup. She's got like those perfect eyebrows.
Well, I don't mean that. No, all I said was a little lipstick wouldn't hurt. Just a
No.
little. And if you don't take my advice. I don't want you to call me back and say, guess what? Put on lipstick and my husband didn't recognize me. Ex-husband.
Lips, it's where it's at. You got to have kissable lips.
That's right. You have to have kissable lips. So, actually I'm not even going to mention it. I did have a question about your marriage. I just wanted to know what was one of the biggest challenges you guys had to overcome as a couple, because a lot of people have dealt with challenges, whether it's financial challenges, the death of a parent or a child, and sometimes those are the hardest things to overcome, and some of them don't even get through those challenges. So what was one of the hardest
I
challenges
think
for you and Kenneth?
when Kenneth retired, now this probably is not what you're really asking, but when he retired, he wasn't busy enough. He started drinking. And that was a challenge for me because my family, we were not drinkers. Holiday, Dad would have maybe a glass of wine, and of course that's going by my family, my mother and father. My mother never drank at all. But when he retired, it was like he felt like he wasn't delivering something to society, maybe. I don't know. And then he started drinking, and we would sit upstairs in TV. Then he started staying downstairs. He had a TV downstairs. We had a refrigerator downstairs that he had a keg of beer down. And then he went from beer to the harder liquor. Um, the day he fell down the basement steps, when he got home, he says, I'm going to take a shower. He went downstairs to take a shower. He fell all the way down the steps, and I heard him. That's one reason I moved, because every night by myself, I could hear him falling down those basement steps. And like I said, he only lasted, they tried to reverse the flow of oxygen to his lungs, and it didn't last. I mean, they couldn't do it. And I'm not saying that caused his death, but I mean, that the liquor did, but I keep thinking he didn't even drink that day. So why did, that's the day he fell and it killed him? Because if it had been that he'd been drinking, I'd say, well, yeah, you were drinking, you missed a step.
I'm so sorry, Darlene. I'm really sorry, Darlene. And I thank you for coming on here and sharing your story with us.
Well, Miss Darlene, thank you so much for sharing some of your time with the Sunday podcast. We love hearing stories, and we love taking away lessons that we can apply to our own life. So that's what you have shared with us today, and we're very, very grateful. Thank you for joining us today on the Sunday podcast, and we will see you next week.
Happy Sunday.